Good morning. Okay, so we are here from One Woman Shop. Up top here, Cristina and Sarah. We are co-runners of, and co-head honchos, I should say, of One Woman Shop, which is a resource hub and membership community for female solo business owners. This is our weekly show that we call The Hot Seat. And today we have a special guest that I'll let Cristina kind of jump into here.
Yeah, so our special guest down here, we look like the Brady Bunch, but this is Stacey Herbert. Correct me if I'm pronouncing it wrong. And so the reason that Stacey is on our blab today, finally, because our tech issues solved themselves, is because she sent us an email and proposed joining us for our blab. And we really appreciate when people do cold outreach to us. It's something that we also do. But we especially appreciate it when somebody proposes a topic that we're not necessarily experts in. So we're so excited to have you here, Stacey. So we'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself and about your business.
Okay, so I'm just gonna deal with my initial nerves, as I always have when I get on a call. Hopefully I'll get into my natural flow. But I'm Stacey Herbert. I'm from London originally. I currently live in Berlin. I'm the founder of Brazen Profit Lab and the online marketing boutique. And I help e-commerce store owners, both new and aspiring, gain more credibility, visibility, and customers leveraging email, social, and content. That's my elevator pitch. It's kind of lame, but you get it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure as we dig into some of our questions for you, your expertise will come out. So I'm super excited. But to stay a little high level right now, we know that you go by Stacey Brazen Herbert. So can you tell us a little bit more about where the Brazen came from, how it got started, and what your definition of Brazen is?
Okay, so I'll give you the kind of contract version, the cliff notes. In 2010, 11, I kind of looked around at my life in London and I was like, looking at what I was doing. I was like, this isn't what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing. I packed up a bag, I moved to Bali, and I started a copywriting business. I literally was wrapping my laptop up in a sarong and going to different shops and working and like just trying to work out how to start business in the online space. I started out writing content for people, and I remember like the first time someone paid me for an article, it was like $20. I'm like, oh, someone's gonna pay me to like write, you know. And it was called the Brazen Copywriter, and it was just brazen for me meant bold, fearless, courageous, very. I'm a little bit eccentric. You'll see in my personality and like mannerisms. Very honest to me, you know, of like who I was. And my focus at the time wasn't even copy initially. I was mainly doing content until I realized there's way more money when you learn how to write to sell. So I became, you know, very focused on specializing in that area. And Brazen Copywriter was born. And then how it became Brazen Profit Lab in 2012 or 13, I came to a conference in Berlin. And I was like, just at this place in my business where I was like, this one-on-one client stuff just didn't feel so good anymore. And I found that I was overwhelmed with what I was doing. And it was like, what do I help my customers do? And it's profit. I help them, you know, profit in their business. And I just decided to get rid of the copywriter because what I was doing was so much broader than copy at that point. Mm-hmm. And it became Brazen Profit Lab. And that's the story.
Excellent. I love the word brazen, but so I'm curious about how, I think it's clear how Brazen plays into your business, but how do you see it playing into the businesses that you work with?
The clients that, okay, so there's a difference in the clients that I work with now to those that I maybe worked with 12 months ago. So just to give you a brief backstory, the clients I used to work with maybe 12 months ago were kind of bigger e-commerce brands. They had staff, you know, 5 to 10 members of staff. These were high 6-figure, 7-figure businesses. They brought me in as a consultant, and it was basically, here's what we want, here's the numbers that we want, you know, you to help us achieve, get on with it. And whilst it was great, there was a part of me that just didn't feel as connected as I wanted to feel with the people that I serve, because it's very much for me, like without sounding too kumbaya, like I should get my tambourine out. It's about service. And I took a step back and I realized that for a lot of smaller business owners, so, you know, like the one woman show, the solopreneur, the mumpreneur, when it comes to kind of taking yourself as far as you can go within your business and acknowledging that you need some additional support to go from where you are to where you want to be, that's a bold and courageous step. You know, that's saying I'm going to invest in myself, in my brand, in my business, in my future. And when you're choosing someone to partner with you, it's got to be the right person. If it's not a good fit, it becomes painful, not just financially, but when you've got to get in your consulting calls that week when your ads didn't work so well, and like you're not even sure if this person's got your back or if they're just taking your money, you know. And for me, it's very much about when we work together, we become a team. I'm invested. So it's a brazen, bold step you take, and I take it with you.
Yeah, I think that asking for help is something that we all struggle with, even though we know that is absolutely necessary. And that's one thing that we preach on, is that, you know, our tagline is going it alone shouldn't feel lonely. And that comes to having the support you need, but also asking for help where you need it. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you see amongst your community members and the people that do eventually ask you for help?
Finance. You know, there's actually a massive gap between the store owner who's kind of making a sale a week, right, to somebody who's doing 50 sales a day, right? So in the mindset, in the cash flow, and the biggest gaps that I find is that 6 and 7-figure brand, they don't want to learn skills. They want to hire hands. They want to hire skills that get things done. Whereas a smaller company needs to be able to learn how to do those things because they can't afford to like absorb it into their team at that level. They don't have a team, you know? So I think there's this big chasm that it's hard to reach over without the right advice, the right support, the right expertise. And quite often the smaller guy just does not have the cash flow to access it. And I saw that time and time again. And like, I don't know how familiar you ladies are with the whole like Shopify kind of come to Jesus at the moment, you know, like Shopify is the answer to all things. And I think a lot of people are kind of being sold a pipe dream without being, you know, they buy the Shopify store, they get the stock, they set up a Facebook and an Instagram account, and they're like, now what, you know?
Yeah, that build it and they will come mentality, right?
And quite often you build it and no one comes except your mama. You know,
and maybe not even her all the time. Or your sister.
Well, yeah, that's where I kind of meet most of my customers already have a store, they already have a brand, they already know what they want, but they're just stuck. And they need someone that says, you've got this, come, let's go, you know? And at a price point that that isn't like throwaway, they have to have some skin in the game, but that is affordable for them, you know? And I'm not saying I'm cheap, but I'm affordable. And that's what you need at that point. Otherwise, you've got no one to help you.
Yeah. Well, so you've touched on a lot of different things about needing to bring in someone for expertise, but you also mentioned mindset. So I'm curious if you can define, when you look at successful online business owners and ones that are maybe really struggling for years, what would you say is the biggest mindset difference between those groups?
Focus. 100%.
What was that? Focus. Okay. Tell us more.
Yeah. Well, there's two. There's like, you have to believe you can do it, right? If you're constantly second guessing yourself, I'm not saying you should like lack humility and think you've got it all covered and you don't need anyone, you know, just let me at it. But you have to actually believe that where you're going from, you have to be able to see it and know it's obtainable, so that those days when like you're just sucking at life, period, you know, when you've had like one person come to your website and like you put up an Instagram post and it just like crickets all day long, you kind of have to be able to get through those days. You have to believe in yourself. But then you've got that place where you've got focus. And what I see happening all the time is that there's so many different avenues to market your business, you know, and then there's everyone saying like, you know, there's all this new shiny toy, do this, Insta, Perry, Blab, oh my God, Facebook Live, you know, mail your list, blah, blah, blah. And like, most of my clients, they come to me and they're like, I feel like I'm chasing my tail, you know, like I feel like I'm on this constant hamster wheel and I'm running out of energy. And one of the things that I'm really focused on doing is helping them find their point of focus, at least for a quarter. I'm like, let's focus on this for the next 3 months and help you master this skill so you can get results in this area, because you don't need to be everywhere, but you do need to find that place that works for you. So focus 100%.
Yeah, no, I think that because it's so easy, especially for people that are just starting out or are at a point of struggle, to get overwhelmed with, well, I should be doing this or this new thing, or I heard this somewhere, I read this somewhere. It's so easy to lose focus. Yeah. But so speaking of focus, let's lead right into the debate we hear all of the time around the sales funnel. And some people hate that word, some people love that word. But working with e-commerce owners specifically, what is your take on sales funnels? And then if you could break one down for us or give us an example, that would be awesome.
Sure, I'm all over it. Like, if you ask me, where do you think I should focus, Stacey? Like, without hesitation, I will say to you, build your list. Let's build your, and I know we sound like a broken record, but let's build your mailing list and let's get that on steroids, you know? And more importantly, let's get these processes in place that allow this to kind of start happening on autopilot, where you are building that, you know, to coin I like to say no love trust, you know, not just like, but I want my customers to love me, like to want me to be in their inbox. And your sales funnel, if you've got that in place, and you're able to tweak it, like to be perfectly honest, your first sales funnel sucks normally. Like, but the most important part is just getting one in place, knowing what it is, how it works, the mechanisms, knowing how to segment your list from the buyer list to did they click on that email, have they responded, how to get your deliverability up by getting that engagement with your customer. And just these little small mechanisms that you put in place that allow you to have a well, finely oiled sales funnel so that people come through it. And more importantly, just breaking it down to someone so that it's like demystified. Like, I just feel sometimes we present these things and people end up scratching their heads and feeling like they don't get it or they're not smart enough, and that makes them feel scared of it. So when it comes to sales funnels, for me, depending on what you're selling, obviously a sales funnel for a $1,000 product is going to be entirely different to one for a $20 product, but the fundamentals of it are the same. I don't know how much of it you want me to break down. Like, you lead.
I would like to take it back real quick. So we are totally sold on building an email list. I mean, it's been our number one driver of sales, of traffic, of membership. We also obviously do a lot with social media, but a lot of that is to direct people back to the email list. But can you just give us kind of maybe a 1 to 2 sentence argument about why email over all the other platforms that we've talked about, Facebook's Live and all that?
Attention. Lack of distraction. If that person is in their email and they've clicked, your head, like without getting too much into copywriting, but your headline is just meant to get them into their email, to click through. Your first sentence is just to get them to keep reading. But if you can achieve that, you have their attention. Once you have someone's attention, you know how to tell a story, their story. They might not always buy from you the first time, but now you're here. You've got a tiny bit of mind share. And that's all a sales funnel really is. You know, it's like having someone that little bit more until they get really used to seeing you in their inbox, and it becomes the next step is to buy a lower price product. And it's different for info and e-commerce, but you guys get the premise, right?
Yeah. No, you're stirring up approximately 1 million questions.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's good.
Right?
So tell us, when you say that clearly there's a different level of awareness needed, a different depth of the sales funnel needed for, say, a $20 product versus a $1,000 product. Sure. Tell us what the main, like there's a clear assumptions of course somebody needs to be courted a little bit more if they're going to be asked to spend more money. But what are the main differences between those two funnels in your opinion? Trust
and the shopping experience, right? And I'll give an example. Like, if I'm gonna go buy me like $800 worth of bag, part of me wants I want the lady to open the door and ask me if I'd like a little bit of Prosecco as I wander around, and do I want the double tan, or do I want the silver rivets or the gray rivets? Because if I'm gonna drop $800 on a bag, I want to just come out there and I want to feel like Jennifer Lopez, you know, with my dope Hermes bag. And you don't get that same experience if you shop on the web, you know. So in terms of like what you would need to do to what I always call disposable income, you know, like a $20 product, if you don't like it, it's no big wow. But you have to give your customer a different experience at that higher price point. And that's why it takes a fair bit longer to get them to trust you and to start kind of making them want to shop with you rather than just, you know, getting in their car and driving to the mall and buying it there. Because most of what we sell online can be bought in person. So sometimes the convenience is great for $20, but at $800, it's not really about that anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, hypothetically, I want to sell $800 handbags online, but I want to capture the online market, but I also want to capture the high-end market. What advice would you give me for giving that individual experience that you would get in person? Okay,
so the first thing I would tell you to do is go and look at who's already selling $800 bags. Who does it well, right?
Market research, number one.
One, and now I'm probably going to say all the American malls wrong, but Macy's, Bergdorf, Lehman, whatever. You know what I'm talking about, right? All the top end places. And then go to the source. So go to the Hermes website. If is a I don't know, an Anna Sui bag or a Coach bag or, you know, a Mulberry or whatever, go to the source. What shopping experience are they providing their customers? What trust elements? Like, they almost don't have to at that point because they're an established brand, right? But it's all, your customer already comes in with all these reasons. Like, spending money hurts, right? Like, that amount of money, even though we want it, we're like, they kind of want it, but they want you, people don't mind being sold to for something that they want, but they want to feel like they can trust you. So when a person is actually standing there trying to make that decision, you need to be answering all the objections that they're already having in their head. You know, what if it's the wrong color? Can I send it back? What if I wanted the 18-inch and this is the 16-inch? Maybe I could just speak to someone on live chat. You know, you have to be thinking about your customers' buying mindset. And I don't know if you mind, I want to throw this out there because I see this all the time. When someone becomes the seller rather than the consumer, they forget about their own buying journey and the questions they have and the fears that they have, and they don't answer those same questions. And I feel like if you can pre-see what people are going to be worried about and answer those things up front, you're halfway towards the sale.
So following down that rabbit hole a little bit in terms of, so obviously you could just sit down and say, well, what do I like in a buying experience, and write down those notes and try to answer them. But do you have any other advice for really making the most of that market research and maybe even doing some survey groups, anything like that?
Okay, so can I give you an example of what I kind of recommend my clients to
Always.
do? Like,
you're welcome to give as many examples as you want.
I ask them to kind of go in and respond, like write down, what did they like? Did they like the imagery? Did they like the copy? Did they like the information that was like about the leather, how to clean it? What were the things that made them feel, and I'm going to use the bag analogy, right, just to keep it, like, give it some context, but what did they like? So once they're kind of aware of what would make them do that transaction, I always recommend then going out into other communities, other groups, and listening into the conversation. Get into the high-end fashion groups, the people that are like the fashion bloggers who are doing Vera Wang and not Henny's, you know, and start listening to the discussion and the language that's being used, because there is a different language that's even used to sell high-end fashion than Forever 21. And you really want to understand your customer at this level where it's very, I like to call it holistic. I'm always worried about sounding too like woo-woo, right?
We have the same concern.
Holistically, and the different interests and interest, challenges, questions, fears, problems they have. Because once you understand them at that level, you'll be able to pitch what you sell in a language and in a way that they understand. And if you get someone doing this when they're on your website or reading your copy or reading your email, this is, she gets me. he gets me, okay, and the anxiety level drops. And when anxiety levels drop, credit cards come out.
Yeah, so I think, we could, like we said, any more examples you want to share, we'd love to hear them, especially when it comes to bringing that physical experience online. But I'm curious, so a lot of creating this funnel and creating this experience is to break down the barriers of the resistance that consumers have when it comes to buying. So I kind of want to flip that script and say, what kind of resistance do you see amongst business owners that you work with when it comes to selling and when it comes to building funnels and talking about sales?
Let me make sure I understand the question. Do you mean the resistance they have to implement these particular strategies, or?
Well, I guess two things. Like, are there certain things that keep them back from actually implementing, but also is there kind of a mental side of things where we see a lot of female solo business owners that are just uncomfortable selling in general?
Yes. Like, I love, like, in a weird way, whenever I hire a coach and stuff like that, I always go for men, right? It's kind of weird. I find men are very direct, and so am I. And I like that kind of no BS. I won't swear on your lab, but like the no BS, like, how would you like to pay for that? Like at 17, I was knocking on doors selling double glazing. So I'm kind of fearless with that type of stuff. But a lot of the women that I work with, there is definitely a resistance, and they're always undercharging, and they don't realize it takes just as much to sell something for $30 as it does for $13. And they always want to be the cheapest person in the positioning. And sometimes it's getting them to a point where they realize that what they have is of value. For one, it's valuable. It's worth being paid for a good price, but also letting them know that selling isn't a dirty word. It's not, selling isn't dirty. It doesn't have to be salesy or sleazy or spammy or snake oily. Like, they're like, oh, I emailed my links once this week. Well, let's email them another 3 times before the deadline, because what if she missed it, And it's getting them excited about selling. That's what I love doing, getting them excited about the process of it and not feeling like it's dirty or it's scary. Quite often I'm like, when I say, let's set up a sales funnel and you need a lead page and a landing page and a video and a low price product, it's like, it's just breaking it down into layman's terms so that it's understandable for them. Because I think the resistance they feel is feeling that they can't do it, that everybody else can do it but them. And that's when the mindset starts to, and the procrastination steps in, and they stop doing stuff, and the momentum dies down, and then the doubt, should I be doing this? And just empowering women, that's mainly my community, but just to know that if I can work this out, believe me, you can too. And we'll take it at your speed, but I'm gonna crack the whip every now and again and keep you moving in the right direction. I hope that answers your question, but if it doesn't, let me know.
No, absolutely. That's great. Christina, we lost you on video, so if I'm cutting you off, I apologize. I can hear you though.
I knew it was going to be my Wi-Fi. I was like, maybe it's someone else's Wi-Fi. No, it's fine. Well, maybe I'll come back. In the meantime, we'll try not to make weird facial expressions. But so I'm curious to take this a different direction from sales funnels, unless you have any follow-up questions on sales funnels for now, Sarah.
No, yeah, let's keep moving.
Yeah, so one thing that you said in your original outreach to us, Stacey, was about repackaging content. And we love talking about content. We just talked about blogging on one of our recent labs. And so basically we see it, and I know you see it as do what you have in terms of content. So can you tell us about that process and about the benefits of repurposing content?
Okay, you kind of cracked up a tiny bit just there. I got the benefits of repurposing content, but the bit previously I didn't really get.
Sarah, do you want to translate? I know you know what I was saying. From English to English.
Yeah, I know you did cut out a bit, but I think
sorry.
Yeah, the main question is really the benefits of repackaging content, and if you can give us kind of some context of how that fits in, like how content impacts sales, that would be awesome too.
Okay, can I take that step back first and talk about the benefits of content? Because a lot of my customers don't really fully get it at the beginning of that process, especially when they're not looking about the long game, right? And one of my things that I'm always saying is that search engine traffic is better than social traffic, right? Like social traffic's great, but it's like there and it's gone. Search engine traffic, if you know what you're doing and you're strategic about it, like it builds up, it builds up, it builds up, it builds up. And if you're selling, go back to the handbags, it's going to be really tough to get too much attention a lot of the time for something that is people are used to. They see it all the time, but you can start creating incredible content around the different interests, challenges, things of your woman's life that makes your blog, your website become like a hub and a go-to spot where they don't constantly feel like they're being sold to. And if you get your keyword strategy right, so in terms of your headlines, your subheadings, your H2s, your density, and without getting too technical, and your etc. And then you've got a really good strategy for promoting that content. What I love is the way your content that you created now reaps dividends next year. So if I put something out this year, I want it to still make me money in a year's time, in 2 years' time. So evergreen content is, my jam. I'm all over that. So, repurposing, I can give an example of how I tend to do it and how I encourage my clients to do it. So I want them to think about a piece of content that's going to really either educate, inform, or inspire, right? It doesn't always have to be, like a funny post or an entertainment post. Think about what your ideal customer is going to like the most or is going to want to come back to, but also think about what feels good to share. Because quite often we create content and we don't realize that people share things that make them look good. So you want to be thinking about what people are going to find value enough that they want to share. And then if you've taken the time to write a 1,500 word blog post, personally, I want as much bang for my buck out of that as possible. So, okay, can I take that and break that down into sound bites and make 10 Instagram quotes? Can I take that and hop on over into Canva and resize it and then get that put into Hootsuite and have 10 Facebook status updates? But hold on a minute, if this is evergreen, so how about I just get this set up now and post it in January, February, April, March? People are gonna, not everyone's gonna see your content. You're gonna get new followers. So don't feel ashamed to keep sharing it. If it's good stuff, if you put your heart and soul into it, keep sharing it, so that when you're repurposing a big piece of content, you're also doing it for the purpose of having different, having it coming in different ways that you can keep sharing it so it's not boring, Can you take that and create a video? Like sometimes I'll make a post that might take you 15 minutes to read and I can create a 5-minute video. Mm-hmm. And some people prefer to read, and some people prefer to rip the audio. Some people prefer to see the video. So how can you take it and break it down in as many ways as possible so that people's learning styles, how they like to learn things, how much time do they got? Can I read a 20-minute blog post? Maybe not, but I can watch a 5-minute video. And that's what repackaging basically is. It's taking one big piece of content and seeing how you can slice it and dice it as many ways as you can, and then promote it as many ways as you can. And one tip I will definitely always give is your headlines. Like I've tested this a million times with my content, with client content, is that you'll find that you'll start to get more of a feel for the headlines that your customers like. Do they want more sensationalist headlines? Do they want open loops that have them going, oh, I've got to click that now to see what she was talking about? Or do they like lengthy headlines or really short headlines? And as long as you kind of change your images up a bit in your headline, it's the same content that you can just post again and again and again and again. And very rarely are you going to get called on it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you touched on a lot of important stuff there. Two things that I definitely want to pull out are that people consume content in different ways. And it's important to remember that when we're creating content. And then the second thing is that there is a second thing. Of course, when I said the first thing, I forgot the second thing.
Life.
Christina, if you want to hop in.
I was just going to say, I think it's really useful to have a list that you can refer back to as a business owner of all the different ways you can share content, because I think when it comes to show, you put up a post and maybe you forget about it, and you forget, oh, I didn't put it into into a tweet rotation, or I didn't do anything with it on Instagram. So having just a little internal document, a little checklist that you can walk yourself through every time you create a form of content, which I feel like someone's got to make this checklist, guys. It might be us. Maybe we'll work with Stacey.
Happy to share it with you guys. You know, I have a checklist, which is like, it's what to do once you've published your post. You know, have you made all your Facebook images out of it? Have you done all your Instagram images? Have you set it up to be shared on Twitter for the next 3 to 6 months? I mean, like, one of the things I always teach my clients is strike while the iron's hot, right? Like, I'm most pumped, and you guys can probably relate to this, I'm most pumped about a piece of content when I hit publish, not 3 weeks later when it's just like tired old content. So I like to schedule out like half a day, and before I even write a post, and I get my clients to think about this, I'm like, how is this post going to grow for you? You know, how are you going to use this post, not just now, but next week and next month? And actually think about how you're going to repurpose that content as you're writing it, so that once it's in written form, you can then spend a couple of hours, bam, 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 canva it all out, get it in a zip drive, slang it into Hootsuite, it's done, right? Get all those headlines while you're still feeling all creative and funny, get it all put into Hootsuite, bang, it's done. Get all your Instagram images made. You can't schedule them, but what I like to do is I put them all into emails, and then I send them to myself in the future, so that on that day, I just open the email, download it, bang, it's in Instagram, it's finished. And I find that once you've done that a couple of times, a few pieces of content becomes second nature. And you're looking, you're like, did I get as much out of that as I could have done? Like, could I have tweeted that a few more times? Did I email my list about that? Some people forget to email their list when they put out a new piece of content. And yeah, I'll happily share my internal document with you. And it's one that I give to my clients as well. And I'm like, take this, the bare bones of it, and then make your own version of it.
Yeah. And I think that one thing is you should totally look at Latergram, because you can like set up your Instagrams and captions and everything. We love that. So Danielle, who's over here in the seats. Yeah. Awesome.
I haven't like got on it quite.
Yeah. It's so great. Well, and then the other thing that you pointed out before, and just wanted to bring that back, is that people are always joining your community. So just to reemphasize that again, that the person who joined your community 6 months ago didn't necessarily see your content from a year ago. So definitely bringing back that evergreen content is.
Yeah, I'm smiling huge over here because that was my second thing. That people consume content differently, and they also consume it at different times. So just remembering that not everybody sees something as soon as you've published it. But in terms of your checklist, so having something that's right there so that you can look at it and then it does eventually become second nature, that is awesome. But obviously the struggle is really in getting started. So I'm curious what you tell somebody who's very much struggling to even get started in A, creating content, and then B, repurposing it. And Christina, your video's back, so watch your facial expressions.
You guys.
Scratching.
Yeah.
Probably, the first place I tell my clients to think about when it comes to creating content is, what questions do you get asked the most? You know, I don't know if you guys know Marcus Sheridan, Sales Lion. Like, he's more in an R kind of field, but like, he sold swimming pools. he sold no, not swimming pools. What are they called? Jacuzzis. Mm-hmm. That was what he sold. Was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Marcus Sheridan's business was selling jacuzzis, and he's like the content marketing dude, right? And he kind of started out by going, what questions am I fielding every day? You know, what questions have I? And I'm just like, I'm over answering that question. So he started writing really lengthy blog posts, which of course had great SEO value, because if you're buying a whirlpool or a jacuzzi, you're going to be like typing, you know, will this fit into a XXX, or how to clean XXX, or best chemicals for cleaning whirlpools. And he thought about, how do I answer my clients' questions, my customers' questions? How can I use long tail keywords and create content around those long tail keywords that are going to allow me to rank for that stuff really easily? How can I save myself a shit ton of time, you know? Because once you've written that content, like, that becomes your FAQ. That becomes part of your sales funnel. That becomes, hey, if you've got these questions, go here. And I always say to my clients, think about how you can be of service. How can you help? How can you answer those questions that they already have? Because if you do it before they have to answer, you're just one step closer to them trusting you. It seems like a long game. It's not as sexy as Facebook ads and Instagram, and content never is, and because it's such more of a longer game. But like, I'm in it for the, I want to win the war, not just the battle. Yeah. Like, I'm in the long game, and that's what content is for me. It's the long game. I've got content that makes me money that I wrote 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, and I think it's what you just said is really important also, because it doesn't seem as sexy as Facebook ads or the new shiny object. But one thing that's really important to remember, and I tell this to, so I work as a copywriter for my solo business as well. And one thing I love to tell people when they're doubtful about whether their blogging makes sense or the email marketing is that this is content that you own, you control. Nobody's going to take your blog away from you in 3 years, but Facebook might be completely different in 3 years. So I think that's a really important point to make.
Your Instagram account, gone.
Right. Exactly, yeah.
Sharecropping, I call it, your digital sharecropping, like, personally, I want my own farm.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. But yeah, we actually, so one of the things, the questions you get asked the most frequently, that's actually the first place I tell people to look when they're struggling to come up with ideas. Just look at your inbox and what kinds of questions have your potential clients or your current clients asked you, or your customers, for example. We had a one-woman shop member. She runs an online community for people building WordPress sites. She was getting bombarded with questions, but she found herself answering the same questions over and over again in different Facebook messages or emails. We said, why don't you just write these as blog posts? And then every time you get the question, direct them to that blog post. And to her, that was such a revolutionary idea, but it's like, sometimes you just need somebody else to point that out for you.
And then when you've written the blog post, how about you now just like read an audio, read it out, then grab the MP4, then take the 4 main points and create a quick video. Then, I made 4 main points of the video. How about I just throw them in with a pretty picture? And now I've got a Facebook post and an Instagram post. We can have that done in a day.
Yes.
And now I'm just over that blog post and on to the next thing, So I think once you start thinking about it that way, it makes creating content more enjoyable as well.
Absolutely.
For me, it does, for sure. And I think my clients enjoy it a lot more when they're thinking about it in that way too.
For sure. Well, so I wanted to make the connection. So we've kind of talked about them as 2 separate things, about your sales funnel and then your content, but they're not separate things at all. And I think we all believe they're incredibly connected. And so I'm curious about basically so you've talked about so many awesome different ways to repurpose your content, but in terms of making sure that your content is feeding your sales funnel, one thing that we always tell our coaching clients is, like, if you have written a course and you're finding all this content that's relevant, but only a little bit, and you don't want to include it in the course, that's your teaser content for the course. And that's what you blog about to lead to the course. But could you give us some more examples of ways that your content can directly lead people down your sales funnel?
Okay, so one of the things I'm always recommending that my customers or I'm like, they're clients for me, but then they have customers. So I kind of go backwards and forwards between the 2 terms. But in terms of their sales funnel, I'm always really encouraging them to use their content as a way to get in front of their customers without being salesy, right? So the very first email that you're sending isn't 50% off, because then you're kind of building up customers that kind of see you as a discount brand. They're only going to shop with you when you're running big, deep discounts is not a business model, is what I'm always saying, but they're always going to shop with you when you are on sale or you're doing things cheaply. Whereas if you can start thinking about how you want to establish and position yourself as a brand from the beginning, is it a value-based brand? What other brands do you want to, I'm going to take a step back. Perhaps there's a specific piece of content love my clients to create. And it's say Rihanna is what her street style is for 2016, right? And you've got a women's fashion shop, and you are doing white harem style dresses and leather joggers, etc., etc. Like, I love to get them to put what they're selling next to what Rihanna's rocking. Like, she might be in Givenchy, but most of your customers can't afford Givenchy. But now they've got an alternative. But what you're also doing is you're positioning, you know? So it's not always as realistic to position next to Givenchy if your pants are $30. But who's the $90 brand, you know? Who can you position yourself next to that takes your brand up a next level? You've got great content that helps people, content that's easily shareable, content that goes beautifully into your sales funnel, one of your first bits of content, and you're selling without selling. And when I position it in that way with my clients, I feel them go, oh. Because then I have to have like yellow highlighter and buy my stuff. And
you're right.
Easy approach for them, which is actually incredibly successful.
I love that you gave that example. So I used to do social media management and blogger outreach for a foldable flat company. So like the flats you can roll up and put in your bag for like a late night. And I used to do like, was it what?
It was a butterfly twist, was it?
No, it wasn't. No. There's like a bunch of those companies out there, the foldable flats. But so I used to do a feature on the blog called like Celebrity Copycat. And I would do exactly that. I'd take like pictures of celebrities wearing these whole outfits, including flats. And I'd be like, copy their style. Like, go for the nautical look that Lauren Conrad is rocking or whatever. So yeah, fun example.
I'm gonna also just like add another layer don't want to like overwhelm people, but I always sort of think about how your blog can add additional revenue streams to your business. You know, think about your blog as, yes, you want to primarily sell your product, right? But your blog, as I said, it's the long game, and as you said, you own it. And I start to say to my fashion-based clients, start thinking like a publisher, you know, like a fashion and lifestyle blogger. So when you're positioning, like once you've got 10 great posts, reach out to the affiliate companies, man. Like when you're putting a link, put your link in there. If someone goes and buys something that isn't yours, damn, you should make some money from it.
Yeah.
So if you start thinking like a publisher, you will find that you enjoy the process of creating content a lot more, and you'll get way more.
Yeah, and I would say, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say along the same lines, like if you find that maybe a clothing company doesn't have an affiliate program, but that you say, hey, look, I included you in this awesome blog post, want to send it out to your network? We found a lot of success with that for One Woman Shop, where people are more than willing to share our content because we've said awesome things about them. So, Sarah, what were you going to say?
I was gonna thank the Blab Gods for actually letting you on, Stacey, because I think this has been incredibly helpful, and I just don't want to usurp all of your knowledge, but I love all the examples you've given and the stuff you've walked us through. So we'd definitely love to hear more from you on the blog or in future conversations. But for now, can you give us an idea of what you're working on now and how people can find you?
Okay, so you can find me at www.brazenprofitlab.com. You can also find me at www.theonlinemarketingboutique.com. That is my private members community. It's a monthly training library where I do live masterclasses. I do a monthly group coaching call, and I do a lot of tech how-to videos that demystifies a lot of the techie how-to stuff. And, you know, I'm focusing a lot on strategy and just giving my community a safe place to come and answer those questions, and I have your person in your pocket, you know. So those are my two spaces. You'll find me a lot in the Shopify forums. Obviously, that's, you know, who my people are. To answer your questions, that's what I'm mainly up to. Lots of coaching clients, trying to have less of them, and put out more courses.
Gotcha, cool. Well, we'll be following up with you and seeing if you want to send us the checklist and just any other awesome resources that you have that would help people who've been watching.
Visitor. Awesome.
Sorry.
All right. Well, So we will be sharing this recording on the One Woman Shop blog. We'll reach out to you, Stacey, but we can't thank you enough for taking time out. I know you've had a rough week when it comes to tech issues, so thanks for taking time today to talk with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, if anyone's got any questions, just feel free to email me, ask. I'm happy to help.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Have an amazing
Bye.
Yeah,
You too. Bye.
Bye.